you all please join in Gassho and recite the Nembutsu with me. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, everyone. And I would like to, there we go. Welcome back. Welcome back. It is so wonderful to see all of you here today. I am always very happy when the Dharma School year returns and all of the students come back from summer vacation. And it definitely looks like our hondo is filled a little bit more. It's so wonderful to get everyone inside and also being able to go back to the basics of Buddhism, which is very important for all of us, especially adults. It's very important for Dharma School students, but I think sometimes, especially me as a minister, I can get lost in the headiness of Buddhism sometimes. But for this year's Dharma School theme, and the lessons or the Dharma School talks that I will do for Dharma School in this coming school year will be focused on the 6 paramitas. How many of you Dharma School students have heard or remember the 6 paramitas? You've at least heard of them, right? Like everyone else has heard of the 6 paramitas before? The other way to think about the 6 paramitas are the 6 perfections, or the 6 the purifications, one could call them. And these are principles that we try to keep in mind in our daily lives. Well, some things to think about. We as people, and as human beings, or unenlightened beings for that matter, can't be perfect all the time. It's impossible. But we can still do our best to think about these 6 paramitas in times of hardship or difficult decisions. But before I go even further, what are the 6 paramitas? So I'm sorry, for those of you who are kind of far in the back, it might be hard to read this. So for future reference, you might want to start sitting up closer as opposed to sitting in the back so much. But I will go over the 6 paramitas. Okay, so here's how we're going to do this. Dharma School students, all Dharma School students and adults alike present. I want us all to recite these together. So after I say it, I want you to say it. Okay, so paramita number 1, dana. Selfless giving. Good. Second paramita, sila. Discipline. Good. Next one is shanti. Patience. I know this one has a K in front of it, but in Sanskrit, and it's shanti. So once more, shanti. Very good. Next paramita, virya. Effort. Jhana. Concentration. Last one is prajna. Wisdom. Okay, number 1 is? Second one is? Third one is? Fourth one is? Fifth one is? And last one is? Very good. Okay, what about the 6 again? It's not up there. That's okay. Today, we are going to talk about the first of the paramitas, which is dana. Okay, dana means selfless giving, generosity, or the giving of oneself. Okay. All of us have given presents before. How many of you, show of hands, have given a present to somebody? Everybody should raise their hands. I'm certain there's no way you could exist in this world and have not given a present to somebody. Yes, you've handed a box from one person to the other. Okay, so what are some occasions we can think of that we would give somebody a present? Well, friends and family's birthdays, right? When it's someone's birthday, you usually come with a present. Or Parents' Day, right? Mother or Father's Day or Parents' Day, right? It's one of those days where you show appreciation to your parent by giving them something. Or I hope all of the Dharma School students present and even those graduates who are here still continue to do this practice, because remember, your parents give unbelievable sacrifices so you may have a good life. And then, of course, other big occasions like graduation. When a person graduates from high school, from college, usually presents are given or presents are received. Have you donated to charity before? Now these days, everything is on the internet, and so one of the things that's popular is called GoFundMe. Usually these are for charitable causes to help with crowdfunding, right? Another one is to health or medical science research, like cancer research. Have you given money to a houseless neighbor, right? Sometimes you see that there is a person in need and they ask you if you have any spare money that you can give. And if you have this feeling of generosity, you would sometimes give this person. Or maybe you've given money or lent money to a friend in need, right? Like sometimes we all can come upon hard times here and there, and we want to show that we care and that we want to be there to support them, so we give a little bit of money. All of these types of giving are good. This type of giving is good and should still be done. But this type of giving is not as deep as dana. Okay? So, again, this is not me discouraging all of you. All of you should try practicing your hardest at generosity, right? This doesn't mean that I'm saying don't give to our houseless neighbors or don't donate to charitable causes, right? This should still be done, especially in our society. But make no mistake, this is not as deep as the concept of dana or the Buddhist concept of dana, okay? So what is dana? Truthfully, dana is giving without expecting anything in return, okay? So some examples of dana. Here are some examples of dana. The Buddha's gift of teachings. When the Buddha was enlightened, right, there was a calling within the Buddha to share the teachings of wisdom and insight to all people in order to become enlightened. Right? Once the Buddha became enlightened, he didn't just hoard this knowledge for himself, right? He didn't just keep the teachings to himself. He didn't just say, okay, I'm enlightened, I'm done, I don't need to go any further. There was a deep calling within the Buddha to share these teachings. And of course, we praise and we thank the Buddha, and we, burn incense, we offer flowers, rice, right? But the Buddha did not do these teachings or did not charge, right? Did not say, give me money for a teaching, right? Spend $4,000 for a weekend retreat with me. The Buddha did not do this. This is why when we talk about the audience of the Buddha, it's so vast and wide, because the Buddha gave the teachings freely, okay? So this is a type of dana. King Asoka's spreading of wealth. One of the most famous kings in Buddhist history is named King Asoka, or King Ashoka, okay? Ashoka. So King Ashoka was very famous for giving the wealth that he had back to the people. So there would be these times where he would actually gather the people, all of his kingdom, all around him, and he would basically, all the wealth that he had accumulated throughout his time as king, would give it back to the people so that they could spread it amongst the economy and, once again, make, have a good life for themselves, okay? King Ashoka was extremely generous and, based on the legend, donated or gave this money out of roots of good, roots of Buddhahood, right? Not because I want to be popular and not because I think that I'm a good person. It's because, he had this deep sense of knowledge, knowing that the people needed it. And finally, of course, Amida Buddha's Pure Land to welcome all beings from the world of suffering. There could be no greater example of generosity or of dana, of selfless giving, of Amida Buddha's Pure Land, where all beings are welcomed to the land of no suffering, no matter who you are, or no matter who you are or what you have done. Amida Buddha welcomes you to the land of bliss. So going back to our world, are we able to do all of this? Are we able to selflessly give? Well, maybe not, but that doesn't mean that you are a bad person. It just means that we have to think about the gifts that we give. Why are we giving the gift or to the charity? Are we doing it for them, or are we doing it for us? Maybe we won't be able to completely rid ourselves of selfishness. All of us have ego. All of us have a sense of self. All of us want to feel good about ourselves. So when we do something good, we want to feel good. We want to feel the sense of satisfaction. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? This isn't necessarily something that I'm discouraging. But with the concept of dana and with the idea of dana, I am asking all of you, when you do something, or when you give a gift, wonder what the intention is behind it. Think about it. Are you giving the gift, for your friend, purely for your friend? Or are you giving them a gift because you think they need it, right? Like, so maybe you're giving them something that you think that they need. Or you give them something that you're hoping, ooh, if I give them a gift, then they'll give me a gift, right? So these are important things to keep in mind. I'm not saying that it's necessarily you're able to totally devoid the self from this, from this action. But it's really important for us to think about dana and what that really means. This doesn't mean, we can still practice generosity when we can. And of course, we have to be smart about how we give. Don't give more than you are able to. There is I'm still going to be talking about dana in the coming weeks. And one of the books that I'm going to bring up is a very famous book that's simple to read, but sometimes very deep to understand. The book is called The Giving Tree. Have you all heard of this book before? Yes, this is a very important book, and we're going to get into this. But don't give more than you are able to, right? This is, we have to be smart about how we give. But it's not a good idea to be selfish or greedy either. We have to find that balance. Now, of course, dana doesn't also mean just physical presence or monetary donations or money, okay? Dana doesn't just mean giving money or physical presence. Wonderful acts of dana can be given through kindness to a person, right? We're not always kind. Sometimes we have a bad day, we get grouchy, and we don't say very nice things. But a person, but kindness to a person is an act of dana. Helping a person in need is an act of dana. Volunteering time and energy, perhaps at Obon and Bazaar. But that itself also is a time of dana. Because when you think about it, you're not paid for your time, but yet you are still giving back to the community and to this community with your time and your energy. And then especially for the Dharma School students present, immediately completing a task when a parent asks you to do so, like take out the garbage, make your bed, clean your room, those little things, right? Not like, and don't get me wrong, I'm saying this because I'm just as guilty when I was a teenager. Maybe I'm still a little guilty now, but when my dad would tell me garbage, I'd always say, I'd be playing a video game, right? And I'd be saying, Dad, after the next level, I'll do it at the next level. I couldn't pause the game, or it's like, Dad, let me just finish this movie, then I'll go do it, right? That kind of thing. Of course, then I got to wonder, parents, like, why do you pick the time that we're in the middle of something to actually ask us to do something? That I never understood either. So, but immediately completing a task when a parent asks you to. Realizing that taking out the garbage or cleaning your room or feeding the pets might just be a little bit more important than completing the next level or texting someone on your phone, right? Maybe I'm being a little bit dated here. But this is really important for all of us to remember as acts of dana. And then remember too, Dharma School students, dana is not a tally, right? Dana is not this account that you can build. Say, I did like 5 good acts of dana, that means I can do something selfish tomorrow, right? don't think of it this way, right? This dana is truly an act of giving without completing something in return. Mom, I emptied the trash yesterday. How come I got to do it today, right? These kinds of, this is not dana thinking as well. Again, I'm not saying you have to be this 100% of the time, but I'm introducing this concept to you so you can have it on your minds, especially during these times of difficulty and times of hard decisions. So once again, I would like to welcome back the Dharma School students. I really look forward to exploring these concepts of the 6 paramitas with all of you. This will be, I think, a very fun Dharma School year where we explore the paramitas, or the purifications or the perfections of our school of Buddhism. But it's so wonderful to see all of you back in your seats, and I'm certain your Dharma School teachers are just as eager to get to lessons with all of you and for all of us to have a fun-filled year. So in closing, will all of you please join me in Gassho and recite the Nembutsu with me. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Will you all please join me in Gassho as I read the words from the larger sutra of the Buddha of immeasurable light and immeasurable life. When I have fulfilled the Buddha way, my name shall pervade the 10 quarters. If there be any place it is not heard, I vow not to attain the supreme enlightenment. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, everyone. It's probably going to take me a little bit of time to kind of recalibrate myself or reset myself in terms to giving 2 Dharma talks. During the summertime, I get used to only giving 1 Dharma talk, but now it's like I have to kind of exercise my public speaking ability again to give 2 Dharma talks in 1 service. So today's Gosandai, or the quote that I did this morning, comes from the larger sutra of the Buddha of immeasurable light and immeasurable life. But actually it comes from Jusei Ge, or the chant that we just finished doing. And this is the reaffirmation or reaffirming of the vows, or the 3 sacred vows that Bodhisattva Dharmakara said. And one of them was, when I have fulfilled the Buddha way, my name shall pervade the 10 quarters. If there be any place it is not heard, I vow not to attain the supreme enlightenment. So what is the name? What is the sacred name? Well, that is none other than Namo Amida Butsu. So we all say this. We all place our hands together and say Namo Amida Butsu, which we have translated or taken to mean, I take refuge in the Buddha of immeasurable light and immeasurable life, or short, I take refuge in Amida Buddha. So this is part of our practice as Jodo Shinshu Buddhists, right? It's not necessarily that we sit in Zazen meditation for hours on end. It's not that we recite mantras again and again and again. Although I guess one could argue that one could argue that Namo Amida Butsu could be considered kind of a mantra. But once again, right, the importance of the name that pervades throughout the 10 quarters or all throughout the land, right, is Namo Amida Butsu, is the vastness of wisdom and compassion, which is what Amida Buddha is most known for, wisdom and compassion. Changing gears very briefly for a second, in the past couple of weeks, I've been very busy actually traveling all over the place. 2 weekends ago, I did my monthly Portland visit, where I went to go visit the Oregon Buddhist Temple to give their Sunday service. But then right after that, we had our annual ministers conference, or Fuken, which is a time usually during the summer, that all the ministers of the Buddhist churches of America come together, and we we learn at a seminar. We have to take care of some administrative business. And I'm certain that Reverend Yukawa, who is seated here today, has fond memories of going to Fuken. Although, unlike Reverend Yukawa, I don't play golf. So there was no golf game for me beforehand. But it was a good time for all of us ministers to come together, to share that camaraderie. And it should also be noted that this was the first Fuken or Ministers Conference that we had in person since the pandemic. So it was actually very interesting and a very much of a first time for me to come together with the ministers in this way. This is an actual picture from this past week when I went to the Fuken, and this took place at the Jodo Shinchu Center. So for those of you who have not yet been there, and if you happen to be in the Bay Area, please try to make time to go visit the Jodo Shinchu Center. It's very wonderful. We took care of a lot of business, and we were able to go through a lot of our reports. And then we were, of course, able to listen to wonderful panel discussions by people like Reverend Dr. David Matsumoto and Reverend Kiyonobu Kuwahara and Reverend Harry Bridge. We learned many, many things about effective ministry. And of course, the Bishop Marvin Harada gave a wonderful talk on what effective ministry can look like. However, the Fuken was also lined up with the Buddhist Churches of America's 125th anniversary. It's sometimes, I think, hard to imagine, but our organization, at least the Buddhist Churches of America, or how long that Jodo Shinchu Buddhists have been in the United States, is 125 years, even longer, I should say. This 125 is the year that the first two ministers from Japan came to the United States, to San Francisco, and then eventually established the Buddhist Church of San Francisco. So this picture comes actually right from the 125th anniversary service that happened last weekend at the Buddhist Church of San Francisco. So it was a very momentous occasion. And for those of you who don't remember, or who, and those of you who just want a reminder, Founders Day for the Buddhist Churches of America is September 1st. September 1st, and just coincidentally, we were able to hold the service on September 1st. So it was a very big, momentous occasion. Most of the ministers who are active within the Buddhist Churches of America were able to come together, and we all sat on the Onaijin. Show of hands, how many of you watched the service live stream? Okay, so you probably didn't notice this, but Reverend Cindy, my wife, Reverend Cindy, and the minister of White River Buddhist Temple, was able to lead the procession of ministers inside the Hondo. And this is because she is the newest, well, actually, she's not the newest, but of the ministers who were present, she is the newest of the Kaikyoshi ministers who was able to, who was there. Unfortunately, during the Fuken conference, 2 of our number had to leave because they tested positive for COVID. So COVID is still here, folks. So just, please be sure to monitor yourselves and, test if you feel symptoms, right? Be careful, take care. But regardless of the tiny hiccups here and there, the 125th anniversary was still a very big and wonderful, momentous occasion. For myself, it was actually very nice to spend time together with my fellow ministers. What you are seeing here is all of us lining up for the procession in one of the hallways of the Buddhist Church of San Francisco. And actually for me, I was very happy to be towards the front, not necessarily because I got to be, first going in, but when I was looking back towards the ministers who are way more senior than me, it reminded me of how much longer I still have to serve in the Buddhist Churches of America before I can get towards the end of the line there. Maybe one day I will, I'm not sure. One of the things that was brought up actually was that, was kind of said in a joking manner during the service, was that we'll see you all at the 150th celebration, which is in 25 years. So just doing the math, I will be 60 years old when the 150th anniversary of the Buddhist Churches of America is here. So a lot of my senior ministers and my mentors were looking at me and going like, oh, you'll still be around, so do your best, and you'll probably have to help with hosting it and everything, and kind of telling me what's what. But again, this was a big day for me because not only was it a time for reflection on how long the Buddhist Churches of America is here, but also how much and how deeply loved our teaching of the Nembutsu actually is. So going back to the Dharma aspect of my Dharma message, we heard a wonderful message by Reverend Dr. David Matsumoto. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to Reverend Matsumoto yet, I can only encourage you. You can find his talks at the Center for Buddhist Education YouTube page or the BCA YouTube page. His talks are amazing, and listening to his inspiring and deep talks really makes me realize just how much of a beginner I still am in this work of the Buddhist Churches of America. But Reverend Dr. David Matsumoto, Reverend Matsumoto, I'll just call him from now on, explained the deep feelings and breadth of the Jodo Shinshu teachings, and Shinran's devotion to the spreading of the Nembutsu, all due to the wisdom and compassion of Amida. One of the things that was brought up during the talk was a lot of the adversity that the Nembutsu teaching had faced in its history, not just in the United States, but of course in Japan. For those of you who remember, right, just because the Nembutsu teaching was, our Jodo Shinshu religion was established in Japan, it wasn't an easy road. Shinran Shonin himself was banished because the Nembutsu teaching was becoming so popular. And it was because anyone and everyone could recite Namo Amida Butsu. There was no certain amount of money that you needed to donate. There was no class or specific section in life that you had to belong to in order to recite Namo Amida Butsu. And also the teachings of Jodo Shinshu, that Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion is spread to all sentient beings, was very egalitarian at the time. And Shinran Shonin himself was banished to the province of Echigo, by the powers that be. And yet he still did not give up on the teaching. He still continued to teach, and eventually when he was pardoned, he was able to return to Kyoto eventually and continue teaching the Nembutsu way. This was done in, very much hardship and adversity. But then thinking about our ancestors, the ones who first came to the United States all those years ago, over 125 years ago, many of them came from places like Wakayama, Hiroshima. Do all of you know like family members who came, some of you have family members who came from the Hiroshima area, maybe? Yeah, okay, so some hands there. Wakayama, even Kumamoto, other provinces in Japan. Those were Jodo Shinshu strongholds in Japan. So having those immigrants come to the United States, was a part of this idea of helping to spread but also expand the Nembutsu teaching. And this was also done through much adversity as well. I think about the hardships that my ancestors had to endure when they came to this country. Racism, violence, bigotry, and mistrust. When you look at the article in the San Francisco Chronicle, when the two Jodo Shinshu priests first came to America back in 1899, it was an article that kind of gave this sort of air of unease, right? Like, oh, these foreign religious people are coming and they're going to corrupt our people and everything. That was sort of the attitude. And yet, still today, when I look at our Sangha, we have come a long way in terms of the diversity and the reception of the Nembutsu teaching as well. But going back to the hardships of my ancestors, right, especially my grandparents and my great-grandparents who were forcibly taken from their homes and put into camps during a time of war and not knowing when they will be released. When you read American Sutra by Reverend Dr. Duncan Williams, you notice that the religious resilience and the appreciation of the Nembutsu teaching did not waver. People still needed and had a desperate need for ministers to come to the camps and preach the Dharma to them. It was a very hard and trying time, and I can also imagine as well, even though we were enemies at the time, but the turmoil the nation of Japan was going through, surviving 2 atomic bombs and fire bombings, also committing horrible war atrocities themselves in the greater East Asia province. What a time to live in. What a horrible time to kind of be in existence, not knowing whether you would live today or tomorrow. And yet, at the same time, the Nembutsu teaching did not waver, for the Nembutsu teaching is still with us today. While the sharing of and spreading of Nembutsu teaching is far from over, I believe wonderful progress has been made. Our temples, while some of them have closed, yes, and of course, all temples across the Buddhist churches of America, Hawaii, and Canada, and South America are losing membership, it is still a wonderful thing to see the resilience that the remaining members and community members still place on the temple today, that it's a special place in our hearts, not just because of the community, which is, by the way, one of the most important aspects, but also of the wonderful acceptance and the teaching of acceptance that is Namo Amida Butsu. I believe that our temples are still in existence today because the teaching allows us to open our doors and to welcome all those who come and wish to enter and learn the teachings of Master Shinran. But also we are a cultural landmark in terms of where we are located. We at the Tacoma Buddhist Temple are one of the last surviving buildings of Japantown here in Tacoma. And still every year, minus the restrictions of the pandemic, we were still able, pandemic and incarceration, we are still able to hold obon and cultural festivities every year to share ourselves with the general and wider community. We are still able to look forward to the times of great celebration, all here at the temple, like New Year's, Hoonko, Gotanye, Hanamatsuri. All of these special occasions are times that we look forward to coming to the temple, seeing our friends that sometimes we only see once a week, making new friends for people who come through our doors, knowing that all are welcome here at the Tacoma Buddhist Temple and at temples in the Buddhist churches of America. But going back to our teachings, realizing that all of us have a commonality amongst temples. We all have our pride and our uniqueness. We love that we are a part of Tacoma Buddhist Temple. We love that we are special, and we love that our building is unique. We love that our Sangha is unique as well. Yet one thing continues to unite all of us, Jodo Shinchi Buddhists and other practitioners of the Pure Land Way, and that is the recitation of Namo Amida Butsu. When we recite Namo Amida Butsu, our own selfish and personal egos go out the window, or at least that it should, and we realize too that we are also in tandem with people like at White River Buddhist Temple or all the other temples who are currently holding service today, even the temples in Japan who hold service on a daily basis in the recitation of Namo Amida Butsu. Going back to Bodhisattva Dharmakara's quote, "When I have fulfilled the Buddha way, my name shall pervade the 10 quarters. If there be any place it is not heard, I vow not to attain the supreme enlightenment." This is not for the sake of vanity or boosting oneself, but it's to share ultimate wisdom and compassion with all sentient beings who may be able to hear it. This is why the Nembutsu teaching is so precious and why I believe it has endured all these years in the Buddhist churches of America, in North America, South America, Hawaii, Europe, and beyond. It is not that I want to go around and necessarily try to knock on people's doors and try to convert them to our sect of Buddhism, but I do believe that we are able to make more appearances in the community and be kind and gentle when new people come through our doors. And I, of course, am so happy and honored that I have been given the privilege to help with sharing the teaching of Namo Amida Butsu. Please join me in Gasho as I recite the words from the larger sutra. When I have fulfilled the Buddha way, my name shall pervade the 10 quarters. If there be any place that is not heard, I vow not to attain the supreme enlightenment. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandats, namandats, namandats.